Welcome to MSP Unplugged. Protect your data with Synology. I'm your host, Paco LeBron. This is our live show where we discuss different ways to run your IT business, whether it's managed services, consulting, or break fix, or anything in between. Let me go and introduce my co-host today and guest. We have Doug Ricketts over at Synology. Doug, how are you?
Hey, great. Can't complain.
Perfect. And then we also have Darren Heath joining us from CloudStream Systems. Darren, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks, Paco, for the introduction.
Very cool. Before we go into the topic, which I think a lot of people were waiting to tune in, and I'm sure that the audio podcast will listen in to talk about everything Synology, I want to talk about one of my favorite topics is TechCon Unplugged. TechCon Unplugged 2021 is going to be this September 17th through the 19th at the Aloft Chicago O'Hare Hotel in Rosemont, Illinois. Learning from amazing panels to help maintain and improve your business. You're going to be able to meet vendors like Synology and find products and services that will save you time and money. Rub elbows with your peers in the community. And what we've done this year is we really took into play a lot of the feedback that we've gotten from the community. And our Saturday night social, we've actually changed that venue because we heard that hallway conversation and really being able to learn from one another is so important nowadays, especially being that we've been virtual for so long. We've actually closed out one of the restaurants nearby called the Five Roses Pub. So it's going to be a great time. Tickets are $199. That will not only get you access to all of the great content and vendors that are going to be there, and I hear some great giveaways, but it's also going to cover your food and drink all throughout the day and nights from Friday all the way to Sunday afternoon. But I think the biggest piece that a lot of people are super excited about is our Microsoft 365 workshop / boot camp held by none other than Cybermat Lee. So if you go ahead and go onto the website, you can check out his bio. He has done quite a bit of boot camps with other third-party providers and really understanding things like Endpoint Manager, how to leverage Microsoft 365 as a scalable ability for your MSP and IT business, and with security in mind as well. So if you're interested, again, we are less than 3 weeks. If you have not purchased your tickets, I would highly suggest you do so, not only because it's going to be a great time, but that Microsoft 365 workshop is a limited event. So head over to techconunplugged.com and purchase your ticket there. All right, gents, why don't we go ahead and talk much more about what everyone wants to hear about, and that is going to be about Synology. But before we kind of go into some of the services and items that Synology has to offer, Doug, why don't you go ahead a little bit more about kind of what your role is at Synology and kind of how you got involved with the company as well.
Thanks, Paco. Yeah. Hey, thank you so much for having us on. Really great to be here. So I've been with Synology for going on just about a year now. And my role at the company is what's called a technical account manager. We work one-on-one with our MSPs to ensure that they're supported in every way possible, from a marketing perspective, a sales perspective, and just about everything in between. We really take a one-on-one relationship with our MSPs to ensure that they're being the best that they can. We have a team of about 10 across the East Coast, and we're really strong in ensuring that our MSPs are able to grow, and that's our major responsibility.
Very cool. And why don't we go over to Darren? Darren, I know that you have been a longtime partner of Synology. Why don't you give a little intro about yourself and how you started your business as well?
So thanks again for the floor time. So I started my business probably 10 to 12 years ago, and it was more because I had a personal need at that point, and that was to do something with all the data that I was accumulating. And, I looked around at all the external plugins that you could do, and I happened upon the Synology product. And at that point, it was bang on. I mean, that was the ticket to satisfy my need to consolidate all the data that I needed. And so I purchased my first machine, about 12 years ago, and started using it. And I liked it so much that I went and got gold certified through Synology as a partner, and started helping other businesses and people around the community, protect their data.
Very cool. Now, Darren, would you consider yourself an MSP, a VAR, a hybrid? What would you consider as far as your practice, as far as an IT business?
So actually, I would actually consider myself a lot of both VAR and MSP. I do come into the business area and I look at what's happening and how we can improve the revenue and how the throughput and everything about the business. But we also do provide services on the backside to help their businesses continue to grow in a consolidated fashion and have one point of contact for their IT technical needs.
Very cool. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure for those that listening kind of can understand from your viewpoint that they can relate on where you stand from that, because I think Synology can fit into quite a bit of any IT business owners, IT business in general's portfolio, because of the not only of just the products that they have, but the services inside of it. But going into a little bit about Synology, and then for those that don't know what Synology is, Doug, why don't you go ahead and kind of highlight, I guess, what's known or most popular about Synology, and then we can kind of just drive the conversation from there.
That sounds great. So Synology is essentially, we're network attached storage, and we do things a little bit differently than other network attached storage systems, in such that we really work friendly with just about everyone in the market. And what we have to offer is everything from your file server, your surveillance, your backup, all the way to running and backing up virtual machines. So what Synology NAS is essentially an all-in-one solution for all of your data needs, and all of those solutions, all of those systems within the unit are going to be license free.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. And then I know Synology has been around for quite a bit of time, and I think I'm hoping everyone has heard the name in one way, shape, or form. I know that Synology has really been providing a lot of concentration on their partner programs recently, into their IT business owner client partners. Can you talk a little bit more about how Synology has really disrupted in a way of helping MSPs save maybe essentially time and or money with the products? And I'll lob that up between both you and Darren, because I want to hear both your perspective, Doug, on how as far as a product offering, but then Darren is actually implementing it.
Yeah, in terms of the way that we consolidate those solutions and services, you can simply get one Synology NAS and you have this access to a plethora of solutions that are really designed to enhance and streamline your deployment efficiency. At the same time, I could share stories about some of our end users that have saved money. I mean, we're not talking like $5,000 or $6,000. We're talking anywhere between $200,000 to $300,000 a year, getting a Synology NAS and saving that money and putting in those solutions like endpoint backup into that one device. So there is a plethora of things that you can do with the systems. But I'd really like to hear from Darren from the MSP side of things as to how he deploys those.
I mean, I can completely agree with you, Doug. One of the things that you mentioned was the zero cost feature or the license free features of the applications within the NAS. From an MSP perspective, right? If you've got active backup for business or 365 backup, you can actually monetize on that by implementing those features for your clients and charging those people for those types of services. Another one that is really big, at least from my perspective, is CMS, or the Central Management System. We've got a lot of Synologies deployed across the footprint of our company, and we've added all of those to the CMS system within this one central framework. From there, you can monitor the health, your disk health, your application version level, anything that comes to mind from monitoring that NAS. You can monitor that from that one central pane of glass, and it makes it very easy on our people to view that information on our NAS that have been deployed. But then you can actually charge that as a service to your clients, as hey, we are protecting and managing your NAS to make sure that it's operating in an optimal condition, and that's money coming back in as revenue, right? So there's a lot of things that come into play when we implement a NAS, especially from the Synology's perspective, because of that license-free implementation of their software. I mean, it's just consolidated. It just works. It's very seamless. Works really well.
Very cool. So there's a lot there to unpack for sure. And I want to get more into kind of Darren's experience as well. And then I'd like to talk more about the CMS, because I think CMS is only about a couple years old. Correct, Doug?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So Darren, when, as you adopted Synology into your offerings and understanding kind of where so much both time and money came into play, were you using other services that Synology answered that helped you migrate to that? Or was it more of a need where, like you kind of mentioned earlier, that you just really didn't have anything that you knew your clients needed and Synology filled that gap for you?
It's kind of both, but it was the fact that I was working with a lot of businesses in the past, and data has become, data is growing exponentially every year. I mean, it's not doubling, it's tripling, it's quadrupling every year. And so a lot of the businesses were coming out and saying, we don't have anywhere to store our data to protect it. And that's one of the reasons why we decided to use Synology to begin with, because it is a very stable platform to use.
Very cool. And then let's go into more on just that management of it all, right? Because I think for a lot of people, having so many Synology boxes out there, they probably were having to do a lot of the manual work until CMS kind of came around. Doug, why don't you talk a little bit more about kind of when CMS came into play? And then one thing, and I say these acronyms, but our co-host Jeff Hallish, who cannot stand acronyms because our industry is so full of them. Why don't we go into what CMS is and what it does for Synology users?
Great question. So CMS is really a holistic way to look at deployments that you have in the field. And again, this is another one of our license-free solutions that are in the Synology NAS. So basically, it's going to allow you to see your active tasks that are going on within the device, backup, success or failure, and the status of your drives, your volumes, and really the all-encompassing picture of that Synology NAS. There are some limitations in CMS, and actually in DSM 7.0, which is our most recent iteration of DSM. It actually has just been released to our Plus series models. This is actually going to allow you access to a program called Active Insight. And Active Insight is going to give you that more holistic view of the NAS performance and a few other features on the NAS and, just really allow you to streamline and consolidate everything that you're seeing in those deployments into really one pane of glass.
Gotcha. And we all know that everyone who tries to get that ever elusive pane of glass is always a pain in the, so I think that this is an amazing ability for those that have probably quite a bit of those over the years in the wild, and now having that ability for that snapshot. We did have a couple questions from the Facebook group or on Facebook. One of them, which I can't highlight here, but the question came over as, what is the one app that no one uses? I think what they're probably referring to is, what's the one app that one who knows about it, can't go without?
Yeah, I think a good one to think about there would be Virtual Machine Manager. Virtual Machine Manager is a solution that we offer on the back end that allows you to, in a disaster situation, actually spin up a VM on your NAS. So let's say I have a physical server. Let's say I have my own personal computer that I've backed up to my Synology NAS using our proprietary suites called Active Backup for Business. Active Backup for Business is actually going to allow you to back up various endpoints to the device, to the Synology NAS, and then in a disaster situation, spin up your VMs, your physical servers on Virtual Machine Manager. So I would definitely say that Virtual Machine Manager would be one of those less known and less utilized solutions that have a lot of power in a disaster scenario.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of other disaster recovery and business continuity companies that have made a name for themselves with that feature itself. So that's actually really cool that Synology offers that as well. And then Darren, I'll toss the other question to you that we got from Facebook is, what would you say are the top favorite apps that you like to use on the Synology? Maybe top 3 that you probably either deploy to all of them or that make your job easier as well.
Yeah, that's a that's a good question. It's a tough question because there are a lot of good apps within the suite. I think my favorites are Hyper Backup. Hyper Backup allows the remote NAS to be backed up to an offsite NAS. You can back up the entire data set, and you can back up the entire configuration of that NAS. So in the event that something does happen to that remote NAS, you can easily just reload the whole thing like it never happened. That's one of my favorite ones. Going back to CMS, love CMS. Another one is Surveillance Station. I really like Surveillance Station. Surveillance Station, you get a lot of companies that have cameras, and they're trying to come up with these all-in-one camera solutions, and now they have 2 boxes sitting in their server room, and they're paying for a licensing service on the Surveillance Station that they have, where we can implement this NAS, and you can kill many birds with one stone. And so I like Surveillance Station as well. So those are the top 3 that I have. Hyper Backup, and CMS, and then Surveillance Station.
And I'd kind of echo off what Darren is saying there and agree on those. I mean, internally, a few that we really like to deploy and like to utilize, Active Backup, that Active Backup suite where we're backing up various endpoints, including your VMs, your servers. And then we also have that same Active Backup suite for Office 365, or I'll never get used to it, but Microsoft 365 and G Suite. We're going to be backing up those as well. So if you have a cloud environment such as G Suite or Microsoft 365, and you want to bring that data on-prem for more, basically more protection. In fact, that's something that Microsoft does indeed recommend. You can do that through the Synology NAS without any licensing fees at all.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Additionally, Surveillance Station, I mean, just having that capability to, let's say you have an end user that wants to expand their current NAS, add a few features to it, and get more out of it, they can really have the flexibility to just add on that Surveillance Station app and turn it into a physical surveillance device.
Right.
Very cool. Now, talking about the physical devices themselves, Darren, is there one that you've standardized on that you feel that, if there's one to go with, that's your bare minimum, this is what you have to get as far as that? And then do you have a couple others where like a good, better, best, or is it more of depending on the job that it has to do, that's how you determine which model you need to get?
Yeah. So to answer your first question, do I have a standard one that I like to use? Doug, you started laughing there.
Yeah, I know. I know the answer.
You know what my answer is going to be. I really like the 1621 XS Plus. Okay. The new DS 1621 XS Plus. It's the desktop version. Newest 21 model. It's XS version plus version. It's got 10 gig built into it. It gives you 6 drive bays, so you can really expand on that. On your storage space, so you're not limited. And then, it also allows for SSD or NVMe caching. But then to go back to your other question, I like to look at my implementations or my solutions from a holistic perspective and not just grab one box. So it may be that you need 3 of those 1621s. It may be that you need one of those and a rack station because you have so much data. Or it may be that, you have a small office space and it's remote. So we'll put, a 920 out that way and do cloud sync between the two to kind of replicate the data. It gives the ability to have your data on premise very quickly, access to it very quickly, right? And so, I'll give you an example real quick. We have a company here in Mooresville, and they have a manufacturing facility in the mountains somewhere. I'm not going to give all that information away, but anyway, they have people working there, and they need to have access to their data very quickly. And all the people that are in the manufacturing facility don't want to travel across the wire to the Mooresville location to get all the data. And so we've implemented a smaller NAS there, and then we're doing cloud sync between the two. It's giving them redundancy and protection, and it's also giving them the ability to access their data very quickly. And, and then we're monitoring both of those services and providing, MSP services on top of that. So we're really monetizing on that and protecting our clients' data. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Very
And
cool.
one of the reasons I laughed at the beginning of that question was because Darren and I we worked a lot in the beginning to try and figure out what made the most sense for the end user. Is it that we go with this DS920 Plus, which is a more entry level Plus series unit, or do we give them the flexibility of a more powerful unit, the DS1621 XS Plus, where you're actually getting a 5-year warranty, you're getting next day air replacement on that unit.
Yes.
And we just decided, for the benefit of the end user, that XS Plus model is really going to shine and show the value that it has to offer. And so far, I don't know, what have your clients thought of it, Darren?
Everyone that we've implemented it is always calling back saying, hey, we need to get another one, or I can't believe I've gone so long without one of these. This is great. I've had nothing but positive feedback. And, that's kind of like our starting point, I think, for most entry-level businesses. And as we progress up through the ranks there, the 1621 XS Plus provides the best that Synology has to offer, from your warranty, like Doug said, 5-year warranty, next day replacement. Any of the items that are in there, also 5-year warranty. So that's really providing our clients with the peace of mind that they're buying a machine that's going to last them and pay themselves back, and investing in their business to grow on. And so we just start that out as their minimum from a basic perspective, and then grow from there.
Very cool. I think one of the things that you highlighted, which we always really harp on here, is you really need to look at what you're buying, as far as not only just as a product standpoint, but what are you getting into it with that product. So you highlighted quite a bit of not only how great the product is, but the services and the team behind it. You have your warranty set, you have your next day air support. So those are all things that are going to improve the MSP's essentially not only services, but life, because you're taking not the downtime that it would take with something else, where if you get next day air, how imperative is that to your end client, but also to be able to explain, hey, look, this is why you're paying the premium, is because we're here to be allowing you to know that you're going to get you back up and running. And I think that's a big piece where a lot of us are now starting to understand, especially with a lot of the ransomware stuff that's happening, is that, how fast can we get a client up? Because it is inevitable that they will be down, whether it is ransomware, whether it's hardware failure, whether it's a natural, disaster. How fast can we get them up, and what's the process to do that? And I think that's really where the focus is for right now. Especially just running your business as well, especially for a lot of our guys that are one-man shows and one-man bands and one-person band, I should say, really trying to get the most out of their time with services and teams like this as well. So I think it's just that much important. But Darren, I wanted to ask you a question on the topic of improving MSP services and improving an MSP's life balance on managing their business. Has the Synology, whether it's a device or the team, kind of highlighted something that helped you out in a pickle, meaning that there was a solution that you needed that you didn't even know or thought of that Synology could help you out with, and it kind of just helped save the day?
Yes. And so an example of that was, so we had a company that was using an external device to back up their Quickbooks database. And the thing is, the way the Quickbooks database was being backed up, it was only backing up to, you have to plug in the device and do that. So we decided to implement the NAS to help spread that load. And, we were looking at running a virtual machine on that. And one of the things that Synology came back to me was, I think it would be better to set up a SCSI LUN for that backup procedure. And so, it didn't even dawn on me at that point, because I was thinking, well, we'll just spin up a virtual machine on this NAS, and we'll run run the QuickBooks server on there, and it'll be on the NAS, and we could do the backup there. But then they came back to me with the SCSI, and we set that up, and now it acts as, a quote unquote internal disk for the machine that's running the QuickBooks, but yet it's actually located on the NAS, and it's being completely backed up and protected. So that's one example of that, where they came through and really kind of helped push that solution through very early on in the implementation, so that I didn't waste a lot of time, right, going down this other rabbit hole when that was more of an appropriate solution for that.
And for that particular deployment, I remember that deployment as well. And I remembered when we were discussing sort of the options, it came down to the iSCSI LUN because of the restoration process, because of how easy it would be to just set QuickBooks back up on that server and then reestablish the LUN connection, and then you're good to go.
Yeah,
Very cool.
Yeah. So because, we were really concerned about that Windows machine going away at some point, from a natural disaster, or, you've got an end user running on that machine, right? And you know how end users sometimes can be, right? So that end user could potentially just crash that machine, and that database is gone. Well, that took the fear out of that, because that database backup is living out on the NAS now, and we can just toss that machine out of the way, bring a new one right in, remap that LUN, we're back up and running within minutes. So it was a very, very, very elegant solution.
Very cool. So I'm going to switch it on you a little bit, and I'm going to talk more about internally. What has, and we're in the same theme of improving MSP services, but way of life balance. What have you implemented Synology internally to help solve a need or some type of manual process, or maybe a service that you felt like, man, I just really don't feel like I should be paying X for this, and I can get it out of the Synology? What is one item or one thing that you may have, incorporated in your own business that Synology was able to handle for you?
For me, believe it or not, it's actually two questions or two answers. One was PhotoStation, because everyone takes tons of photos, and nobody wants to delete them. And and if you're taking all your photos on your iDevices, Android or whatever, right, that's going, you can't store but so much on your iDevice, right? And so you start having to pay for additional cloud space for that, right? So that feature, we definitely integrated that into our workflow. So now all the pictures get stripped off of the handhelds and get stored on the NAS, so we don't have to pay for that additional cloud storage space that's native, I guess you could say, to our iDevices. And then the next one is actually the Synology Office. Right now, there's a huge push. I mean, the way Microsoft 365 is going, you used to be able to purchase Microsoft Office, for $100 or something like that, or $200, and run it into the ground, as long as it would run. Now they're kind of taking that away from you, and you're having to pay a reoccurring fee for that every month or every year for that kind of stuff. Well, Synology Office is license free. And it does exactly the same thing, and it's all fully protected, and it's streamlined, and it's integrated very well with Synology Drive. So you have access to all your files, whether you're on that computer, you're on your handheld, doesn't matter. So those are the two things that we've implemented that really helped cut down some recurring costs within internally, that have really been a benefit to us.
Very cool. And then Doug, Darren mentioned Synology Drive, right? And that was an app that a lot of people may know or may not know. I know that it's Disk Station had some updates on their apps as well. Can you share me a little bit more about what Synology Drive is and how that would implement for someone?
Yeah, absolutely. So Synology Drive is sort of an all-encompassing file share solution that really lives directly on the NAS. Each device that's underneath that Synology Drive will have a client installed on that device, and it will actually have mapped folders to Synology Drive that go directly to your NAS. So if you have an environment where you're working, like let's just say 50 to 60% of your workforce is off-prem, but you want your data to live in one one place. This is a great solution to implement, and you're
mhm.
not dealing with the sort of like the cloud environment, so to speak, where if you don't have access directly to that cloud, you're going to lose that data. It all lives on the NAS, so you own that data, you own that storage space. And you really have that responsibility or that flexibility of being able to access it whenever you like. So Synology Drive, I mean, just in general, is a very powerful tool
Right.
that will allow you to really share and collaborate with everyone in your company.
Very
So,
cool.
and to build off Doug's response there, we talked really early on in the conversation about MSP versus VAR or whatnot. Synology Drive, from my perspective, when I come in and look at a business and, I hear that they're using other, cloud sync type, software, I immediately think of how much money they're spending annually to procure that software from a license perspective. I've seen upwards of $8,000 a year for even small companies running, because they've got so much data, right? And you can come in and implement, a Synology product. You can deal reg it. That's the first thing that you can do. You can deal reg it. So that way you can monetize on that perspective. You can get Synology's help in producing a good solution. So that's a really good product that they offer. But then you go in there and you implement this drive to the client, and they're able to reproduce what they were doing by spending money. Now they're saving money and they're protecting their data, and it's all in one consolidated place that is cohesive through all the other native applications within the Synology device. So it really kind of blends right in to everything. I really like the cloud drive a lot.
Yeah, there are circumstances where an end user could be paying $2,000 a month for some type
Hmm.
of enterprise drive
Hmm.
solution.
Hmm. Yeah.
And Synology Drive can come in and with just putting a number out, a $2,500 deployment, we can cover the spectrum of what that $2,000 a month enterprise drive would do from just that single device. So
Hmm.
they're reducing the amount of money that they're spending, and they're getting that Synology device, and they're able to work directly on that device. And one of the greatest things is, Darren, you mentioned it earlier, we've got hyper backup. So if you want geo cloud redundancy, if you want to be able to back up to the cloud, you can do that via hyper backup. And we actually have and offer a cloud service called C2, and we have something called an MSP console that is really specifically tailored and designed for MSPs to manage that C2 deployment holistically.
Hmm. 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 Yeah. C2 is pretty new, right, Doug?
Yeah, C2 is relatively new. So we opened up our US data center in July of last year, but we had a European data center going back, I believe it was about 2 to 3 years at this point. So we've had the C2 service for quite some time, but the flexibility of having that US data center was brought to C2 in July of last year, and since then we've really grown and expanded that C2 service.
Very cool. And that was actually where was going to be my next question was,
Cool.
how to back up that data out, because to have that redundancy. And I think security also comes up into play as well. Like, how do you handle, again, I think everyone, again, like going back to my example before, it's how fast can you get back up and running versus how do you prevent, right? And I think there's always obviously a lot of security features in place there too. Before we get into that, there is a Facebook question here that, and I know Cindy answered here in the chat, but
Sure.
Doug or Darren can probably chime in, is what would be the recommended best way to purchase a Synology? I know there's, as far as benefits, I know you can purchase it on Amazon. Are there recommended distributors because, of the relationship with the distributors, or, and this is something we'll get into later on, is the partner program. Is there any benefits of going direct if that is an ability to do so?
So just to kind of touch on the partner program, we don't sell direct. We do operate channel specific.
Okay.
And in terms of distribution, we work with Ingram Micro, Cynix, ASI International, and MALabs. Our products are readily available from Amazon as well. Our products are readily available from other value-added resellers. However, as a partner, I would always discuss the opportunity of going through distribution, and when to do that, reasons to do that. But as a partner, yeah, that would certainly be helpful.
Yeah, one of the things that I find a lot, and I'm going to switch gears just a teeny bit. I've been talking about businesses and enterprise level stuff, SMBs, but from a residential consumer perspective, right? I mean, they're very quick to hop on Amazon and purchase something, right? And without really discussing it with an expert, right? They end up. I've run into this several times. They end up, unfortunately, wasting a lot of money, or not saving money or whatnot, because they'll buy something that's very underpowered for their real needs. They think they only need this. But when they start talking to somebody that really knows the product and can really kind of help guide them in a solution, they kind of find out that, wow, we needed to get something that's totally different than what we were originally thinking. And, a lot of people would just hop on Amazon, buy the first thing they see or they think they want. And then they quickly outgrow it in 6 months. And now
or find out there's no hard drives in it.
Yeah, exactly. And then you talk about the support, and you talk about just the relationship building. Hey, call us anytime if you have any questions, you need anything, we're always here for you. I mean, you're just not going to get that from just a quick press of the button at Amazon. So
no, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, and that kind of goes off of a story we had, I think, that came up last week, Darren. If you'd want to share that one with sort of the responsiveness of an opportunity that came in.
Oh yeah. So that's a great question. You're right. So last week we had a client. Well, Doug came to me and said that he had a client that we knew that we could get something done for, and they were trying to work with just a standard big box unit, and was not able to kind of meet terms, and they had a specific timeline that they needed to meet, and they were trying to meet that with the bigger box provider, and it just wasn't happening. And so Doug presented the opportunity to us, and we were able to get that deal sealed out and done within a day, where it was looking at 6 to 9 months for this other company because of the policies and procedures that were in place. But it was kind of like a plan A, plan B, plan C from their perspective, right? Plan A was to go directly to the big box and take care of it all. Plan B was to go out and just try to procure everything themselves. Okay, we're going to go to this online company. We're going to go to this online company. We're going to piecemeal it together, right, until we have all the parts that we want, and then we're going to implement it off. Plan C was call us, call an MSP, and a partner. And as a partner of Synology, they called us, presented this opportunity, and we were able to take care of that immediately. So it saved the company a whole lot of time, a whole lot of frustration, and they were able to accomplish what they were wanting to do just like that. So it was great partnership.
It just goes to show the value that an MSP can add to just about any deal that we're working on, and really the amount of responsiveness that we can get from the MSP community as well.
Sure. So why don't we talk more about the partnership program? I think that is something that is of much interest, including for ourselves. Mike Wise over at Clockwork Networks, he was the one that actually made this introduction to his rep and got us in touch with all the folks over at Synology to make this happen. So thank you, Mike, for that. But he was actually the one to highlight to us, because we have a little small mastermind group that we meet every other week, and highlighted how Synology has a partner program and is really establishing and really trying to make it be more brand aware. Because I think everyone just knows Synology from just the Synology products, but not really understanding there's so much more to get involved with the business and the company, as much as you're invested in our growth and in return, helping Synology expand the services as well. Can you talk a little bit more on just the partner program? I understand it is fairly new from a couple of years ago, kind of formalized, and kind of how that works in the realm for someone who wants to get involved.
So the partner program, it's actually a very simple and straightforward process to get involved. We would just fill out a form, and we'd have a conversation about what it is as an MSP or a VAR that you're looking to do with the Synology products. We would discuss your current IT needs, and then we would really just discuss, what solutions within Synology do we have to offer your company that can help you succeed. Um, if any, right? And generally the answer is yes, you guys have these solutions that we need to implement. So once you get on board with the partner program, we're looking at deal registration opportunities where you can get project pricing on items. We have NFRs, not for resale units, that you can use for internal testing. And we're very liberal on our loaner policy. So if you guys, if the MSPs, if end users need loaners for them to be able to use as proof of concepts, we can get that deployed, and we can ensure that A, the customer is getting exactly what they need, and B, they're going to be comfortable in the environment that they're working on. And along the way, the stepping stones towards that success, we're going to be there with you sort of almost at every turn to ensure that you're successful. And if that success means discussion directly with the end user, we can have discussions directly with the end user. If it means marketing, we're going to support you from a marketing perspective, and there's no extra cost to that. So we're there really because we don't sell direct; we operate in channel. Our MSPs are really our most valuable asset in the field. So we're here to support them however we can, however they see fit.
Sounds good. And then just to confirm, and then Darren, you could probably chime in on this as well, because I'm very curious on the certification you mentioned earlier. The partner program is no cost to join, or is there any is there any requirements to join, or is it a matter of enrolling on a particular site or contact and then speaking with an account manager to really understand the value of what Synology can do for the business?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there is no cost at all to join, and it would really be as simple as reaching out to Synology and having a discussion and seeing, hey, does this make sense? Is this something we can proceed with? And how is this going to benefit our company? How is this also going to benefit Synology as a brand too, right? Like we want to make sure that the relationships are mutual and that we can do everything possible to support the person that we're working with. So yeah, there's really no strings attached to it. We just want to be able to see you. We want to be able to train your staff and work with you and give you the tools you need to succeed with the brand. So
Sure.
that means training, that means conversations. Yeah, and that's something that we're really there to do for you.
Right. The deal reg portion is huge. The NFR portion is huge, and the loaner program is huge. I mean, all three of those are really nice. And then you throw the support part of it on there as well. With the deal reg as an MSP, right, or even a VAR, right, you can deal reg these units, and then when you sell these units, that's just a little extra that you're making on top of that. And it allows Synology to know that you're in this for both mutual growth. And then the NFR units, as a company, you're trying to grow, and you're not wanting to push all of your capital out to grow. So Synology is really partnering with you to do this NFR stuff, allowing you to support your business as you grow for minimal cost. And then the loaner program, it's come in handy a couple times. You have a client that's just kind of, well, I mean, I don't know here or there, and let's just do this. And I tell you what, no cost. I will set you up a unit. It'll be this unit right here. We'll show you how it works. And 9 times out of 10, I'm not taking those out of the deployment. I'm just actually ended up buying those and just keeping it installed and moving forward, right? Because they like it so much. So that loaner program is really a good benefit to have as well.
Very cool. And then you mentioned certification. Yeah, I think you mentioned you were gold certified. Can you elaborate a little bit more on how that certification has helped you on actually not only utilizing Synology, but managing them and just being able to explain the benefit to a customer as well?
I will say,
Okay.
I will say we don't currently have a certification process in place. The gold
Okay.
certification isn't something that we require. We still have material out there in the field that you can certainly use to enrich, but training and conversations, anything you really need to know or anything you'd like elaboration on, always reach out to an account rep and we can get you set up with proper material. But no, Darren, please speak to your gold certification for sure.
Yeah, no, as I mentioned earlier on in the program, we've been with Synology for 10 years now. And I attended, now you guys, I guess, because of all the virtual stuff, you're doing a lot of the spot stuff, which is really great. These are just quick 30-minute learning sessions for the different products that Synology has. They're called Spot, SPOT. But before that, when it was all kind of still in person, whatever, they would have shows set up that you could go to and training sessions, and you would stay for a couple days, and you would, for 8 hours a day, you would train on Synology. And I attended several of those workshops throughout the state to learn more about it, because I really liked the product, and I knew that it had a really good future. And then after a couple of those, they put out some type of actual exams. They were full-blown exams, and you had to take them and answer all these questions about how Synology works, how high availability works, what are our iSCSI LUNs. You just basically great Synology networking type information, and you had to know it. And then once you got through those exams, they actually did provide certifications showing that you knew the Synology product very well. So I'm not sure if that, I don't think that's still in operation right now, as Doug mentioned, but it really propelled me in our business to understand what Synology was capable of very quickly. And it's been great.
Very cool. So I got two quick questions. We're going to take a break, and then we will go from there. First question I have is, for those that want to get involved with Synology, but they may be with a competitor, is there any type of promotion for switching from a competitor, or a conversation to be had with an account manager to talk more about that?
So I think we play pretty friendly with all vendors and all systems out in the field currently. I mean, we operate from on a wide swath of different applications and solutions. So if we can't replace those quote unquote competitors, what we can do is we can coexist, and we can offer some solutions and benefits in the meantime. I would say, pulling in the Synology Partner Program, you are looking at opportunities like the NFR, like the Loaner Program, to kind of complement, and also the license-free solutions. But keep in mind, we have also been designed as a solutions-oriented company. So we started as a software company, and we evolved into this hardware company, I mean, over the span of 21 years, where now what we're doing is so much bigger than what we were doing when we started, but we've got that software and that solution down. And we have done our best to really learn from our MSPs so that they can tell us, hey, this is what we need. And when an MSP tells us they need something, we are incredibly responsive on that. We want to make sure that we get stuff implemented and learn from what our MSP's experience are in the field. So we take it very personally when hearing about what other folks in the channel are doing.
Gotcha. No, very cool. Another Facebook question we got here is, speaking to Darren's mention about the Synology productivity suite and the Synology Office. They love the idea of using the Synology productivity suite versus Google or Microsoft 365. It's a two-part question. Is it actually a legitimate replacement for small businesses? Which sounds like yes, because you've implemented this for a couple of your clients. But the second question is there a conversation to be had to address customer concerns if it is?
So to kind of start with the first question, we use Synology Office internally, and Synology is a company of about 1,000 people globally. And we're very happy with it. And then in terms of and the other half of the question, I'm actually going to hand that to Darren because he's really been active with that in the field.
So yes, there is conversations to be had. A lot of people don't even know that Synology Office is available until we start talking to them about managing their 365 and whatnot. And it kind of goes two ways, right? The clients are very happy with 365. They don't have a problem paying it. And as an MSP, we kind of integrate that into the Office 365 active backup. So there's an opportunity for MSPs to do that part of it. But then from adding value to the company and kind of helping to build credibility with the company, you can offer that Office, Synology Office, to the company and say, hey, we could also save you some money with using Synology Office rather than an Office 365. And then you can actually take that savings and add other services on top of it. You want to do some offsite backup or whatnot, or you want to increase. Okay, fine, you're going to save $2,000 this year. Why don't we implement a high availability system? And that way your data is even better protected, and you still have the flexibility. I mean, you still have the operability of the Synology Office, your Word and Excel stuff. So there is conversations to be had.
Sure.
It kind of goes both ways in my experience. Some people are just pretty hard set. They just like Excel. They just can't get away from it.
No, I hear you. No, that's perfect. One last question before we go to a quick break, just because we're heading up to the top of the hour, which I assumed we were. The one popular question that comes up is, can Synology host a QuickBooks database file, or can I run their actual Access database file from a Synology NAS?
Here's the question too. I'm gonna let Doug take that question. I want to hear the official answer.
It's funny because that's sort of the conversation we were having a little bit earlier, right?
Yeah.
So to answer that question, in a disaster scenario, yes, you can certainly spin up QuickBooks on the NAS and you can run QuickBooks. But I would say from a day-to-day operation standpoint, it's our position to say, while I will say that I have a number of clients that are very successful with being able to run VMs on the NAS, it's our position to say, listen, this is used for disaster scenario. This is used for something to where if something happens internally, we're there to save the day.
Sure. No, and I had, and obviously I had to toss that because that's a common question we always get, or that we, go into a client that has, and it's not just Synology, just any NAS, right? That has that stuff. Darren, what's been your experience with something like that?
Yeah, it goes back to the answer I had earlier. We were going to go with that VM route. We were going to spin up the VM on this NAS the Synology device that we put in. It was a pretty powerful NAS, so we knew that it could run several VMs. I mean, that wasn't the concern. It was just, what is the proper solution, right? We want to do the solution that works best, because I mean, honestly, yeah, I want to continue to stay in touch with my clients, from a relationship MSP perspective, right? But I would rather that conversation be positive rather than, hey, this is not working, this is not working, this is not working. So we wanted to implement the right solution, and turns out it was the SCSI part of it. And after I explained that to the client, it was totally accepted, and we went through that. So I will say I've seen various ways to run QuickBooks on Synology devices, but I think introducing the SCSI was probably the most stable and tried and true method to use, protection wise.
Sure.
I don't want to keep babbling here, but QuickBooks, right? QuickBooks database servers are the life of a lot of businesses, and it's the database. If that thing gets corrupt, you get a lot of unhappy people. Right. So you don't want to play around with that. And that's why we kind of chose to implement the proper method. So
sounds good. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Why don't we gather our last thoughts on topic, anything that we haven't shared yet. If you would like to support the show, go to patreon.com/MSP Unplugged. I believe it's about $1 a show. And by sponsoring the show, you are allowed into our private Facebook group, which has about 150 users, 160 users, where it's a calm space to be able to ask any and all questions. So you don't feel like you won't be able to get an answer. There's a lot of Facebook groups out there that I am in part of that. A lot of IT business owners, technicians tend to speak their opinions as fact, and unfortunately makes people feel a certain way and really judged. I think I seen a comment the other day of a post saying, prefacing it as please don't be judgmental and asking their question. And I feel like that's kind of sad that you have to preface that without just asking the question and getting that help. So Facebook group has been a great community to allow that for. Main reason we're having this conference as well, meetup event later in the next month. So for those that are currently interested, just head over to patreon.com/MSP Unplugged. And I also want to thank those that continuously support us as we move forward and bringing you all great content and new things to the community as well. All right. So Doug, Darren, we literally spent almost the whole hour talking everything and anything about Synology and really understanding the value on a real life, real world scenario and along with services. Is there anything that we may not have touched on really quick on how Synology can benefit a IT business owner with whatever services they're offering, or another item that we may not have covered as well?
Yeah, so just a couple of things that I kind of want to touch on. First is our BAP, what we call Business Advantage Program. Our Business Advantage Program is something to where we actually have internal employees, they're account managers that work directly with end users, and there's no cost to that for MSPs. There's no cost to that for the end user. They're there simply to aid and ensure that the deployment is going off successfully and efficiently. And this is something that we offer to our end users as a benefit of having worked with one of our MSPs. If this is something that an MSP says, no, I'd like to kind of pass up on that opportunity, we're certainly more than happy to consider that. But the BAP program, Business Advantage Program, is something that can truly enrich those end users and allow them a very efficient and effective deployment, and ultimately really aid them in times where they may have a disruption or an issue that comes up. As I know that they can commonly happen. And then lastly, we're growing exponentially as a business. I think 2020 and 2021, don't quote me on this, but I think that this has actually been some of the biggest, most astronomical changes that have happened within Synology, and we're growing our team. So quite simply put, we are looking for solid individuals that can really make an impact for other MSPs. So if you know someone, reach out, let us know, and perhaps we can get them just an opportunity internally, because we're really looking for skilled individuals.
Very cool. Very cool. Darren, any lasting words or items?
Just, reach out to your clients and talk to them about the preservation of their data. I attended a conference a couple weeks ago, and one of the pictures that they threw up was a pond, and the thing was entirely covered with lily pads. And the question was asked, if this was data in the world, and this doubles by every day, it's doubled. The lily ponds double the lake, the pond. How many lily pads covered the pond yesterday? And the lily pads only covered half the pond just one day ago. And so tomorrow, the entire thing is covered by lily pads. And what that tells me is that data is growing in the world like astronomically. And people don't realize how important their data is until they lose it. So talk to your clients, talk to your businesses, and ask them, what would happen if they were to lose their data? And if they have anything other than, whatever, just reach out to Synology, reach out to us, reach out to somebody that can help you protect their data.
Yep.
Very cool. Gentlemen, I really appreciate both of you jumping on here. I think it's been a great, informative episode for hopefully those that either didn't know about Synology, now knows about Synology, for those that knew about Synology but didn't understand some of the intricacies and some of the great apps and services that are available and the great team behind it. Greatly appreciate you joining. Doug, if there was anyone that wanted to reach out to you or to find out more about the program, what's the best way or route for them to kind of reach out to get involved?
So they're more than welcome to email me directly. It's just dricketts@synology.com, or hop onto synology.com. And you can actually navigate down to become a partner. Click on that, and then you can fill that form out, and then that'll automatically submit an application to Synology, and your dedicated account rep, depending on where you are, will then reach out to you and discuss next steps going forward.
Very cool. Darren, if there was anyone that wanted to reach out to you just to pick your brain or just understand more of how Synology's been working on or working out for your team and company, what's the best way that they can reach out to you?
There's 3 ways that they can do that. They can visit our website, and it's got my phone number on there. It's got the way to contact me there. You can email me directly at darren@cloudstreamsystems.com. Or, if you want to set up a actual meeting, you can use Calendly. Our website has a Calendly meeting invite in there as well.
Very cool. Awesome. Again, really appreciate you both jumping on here and really talking about how Synology has really improved and just, again, expanding as we kind of move along here. And for everyone that has joined us, thank you for joining us here. Come join us every Tuesday at noon Eastern, 11 Central. We actually will be having a special episode this Friday. If you're tuning in live, we will be having Threat Locker, who's one of the also additional sponsors, coming at the show. Watch live and hang out in the chat room over at youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. Subscribe and hit that notification button so you never miss an episode. Use your favorite podcasting app to take us wherever you go. We are on Spotify, Amazon Music, and on Apple Podcasts. And again, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.
Thanks very much.